Right, you're watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Let's go to our top stories this morning. Well, it looks like an automatic 180 U-turn from the UK because it's lifted COVID-19 travel restrictions on 11 African countries by 4 a.m. early this morning. Now, this is after recognizing a high rate of community transmission of the Omicron variant itself within the UK. Now, UK Health Secretary Sajid Javid told Parliament on Tuesday that Britain will be removing 11 African countries from its COVID-19 list from Wednesday because of the widespread Omicron in the country.
Now, the Omicron variant has become a big story in Britain and even around the globe.
Now that there is community transmission of Omicron in the UK, and Omicron has spread so widely across the world, the travel red list is now less effective in slowing the incursion of Omicron from abroad. So I can announce today that whilst we'll maintain our temporary testing measures for international travel, we will be removing all 11 countries from the travel red list effective from 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.
All right, you just heard that from the health minister in the United Kingdom. Now, countries like Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, of course, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe will all be removed from the red list. However, travelers planning to enter the UK will still be required to take a PCR or a rapid COVID-19 test within 48 hours of departing for the country. Now, joining us this morning is Tony Okachuku, who is the CEO, Aviators Africa, and he'll be shedding more light on the story. Many thanks for joining, Tony. Now, the UK authorities, finally, they have revealed the travel ban imposed on Nigeria and 11 other countries over the Omicron variant. Was the role of diplomacy played in all of this?
Thank you for having me. It was pleasant to hear the news. Of course, the reason for the red list was not scientifically backed, by the way. For starters, it was just a direct response to the Omicron virus, which needed World Health Organization validation before they could go ahead and do that. But anyways, it's pleasant to know that they have moved in Nigeria plus 10 other countries of the red list. But I think it was the pushback from Nigeria, that made them to kind of rethink their decision, because it was going to cause some diplomatic row, and they had to, go back to the drawing board and realize that, they were hasty in making that decision, and now they had to retrace their steps.
Quite hasty, you might say, Tony Okachuku. First, it was the 6 Southern African countries that were in that list, with other African countries. Then Nigeria threatens to react, and 11 then gets off the ban. Quite a sturdy U-turn from the UK. Now, Tony, in the same vein, UAE also considered about 7 flights for slots for Nigeria after initial breakdown of negotiations. Now, what does this really imply now? Did you see perhaps the threat from the federal government playing any role here, both for the UAE and the UK?
So I think there's so many stuff flying around social media, but I think the basic stuff needs to be understood between what bilateral air service agreements are, which is BASA. When it comes to slots, it's primarily the on the purview of the airports, to determine slot vis-a-vis, the availability. But again, BASA is above slots. So when it comes to BASA level, it's between, the countries having bilateral agreement. But when it comes to slots, the airports, now determine the slot as according to availability. But in the case of UAE, it was them trying to untwist us to, playing their own game. So the federal government has to now bring its weight into the matter and say, you know what, we need to be in control of this. We need to go back to drawing board and need to push them back. And they realized that for the very first time, and I must give credit to the Minister of Aviation in this particular matter, for standing their ground through the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to say there must be reciprocity. You cannot come here, have 21 frequency, and we are struggling for 1 to 3 frequencies, for on our own side. So yes, they pushed back and given 7 slots, but I think that's just the start. There's more to come.
Right, there's more to come, Tony. Now, while some people believe it might be a coincidence that the United Kingdom is having this at this point in time, and UAE has come along to also agree to some of the terms and conditions, some other school of thought believe that the UAE had no choice but to agree to some of the terms and conditions given. But what lessons do you think we can learn from this whole situation?
So yes, I agree with you when you said that UAE had to, learn their lessons because, again, Nigeria is a big market. We have the numbers, and we should be able to ride on our strength. Okay. So the big lesson to learn here is that we should not be in a hurry to sell our rights or our commonwealth for a pot of porridge. Nigeria has a lot to offer to the Community of Nations. We should begin to look at ourselves and occupy that space. Okay, UAE is a start, but there are other Barca agreements and agreements all over the place, with the diplomacy that we are just at the short end of the stick and the receiver at the receiving end. This should be a start to reviewing all the agreements that have shortchanged Nigeria. So that, for me, are the lessons for us to use this opportunity. We must never let any crisis go to waste. This crisis is an opportunity for Nigeria to look at, holistically go back to the drawing board and begin to address all the issues that pertain to us, especially as it's got to do with aviation.
Clearly, lessons to be learned with this COVID-19 and Omicron variant, and aviation sector particularly. 11 African countries now out of the list. Well, thank you so much, Tony Ukachukwu, CEO of Aviators Africa, right here for coming on Breakfast Central.